Hello, this is the Mike and Mario show here. It's Friday, May 21st, 2021. Today, we're going to talk about start maybe with the Perth Mint. Mike, what do you say?
Sounds good to me, Mario. It's excited to be back for another Friday. A lot of things worth touching on. Let's jump into it. So, I'll put up on my screen firsthand something that you brought to my attention that I had a chance to take a look at. And if you want to start chiming on it, feel free to do so. But feel free to dive at it. So here we have Robert Keats, the video here about the Perth Mint and their fractional reserve system. And so I did have a chance to run through it, and I can get to that part where I want to share with the viewers or whatever. But feel free to share your 2 cents, Mario, what you think, what your assessment was of this whole fractional reserve stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for the viewers to listen to the whole video. I'm just going to do a synopsis of what Rob Keynes said. Rob Keynes is he used to be an auditor. I think he's still qualified as an auditor. And he was contacted by a certified financial accountant based in London, but originally from South Africa. And they went through, basically, this guy that contacted Rob Keynes went through the Perth Mint accounts, which are public. And what they found is that since 2018, the Perth Mint has been running a fractional reserve system. Their accounting doesn't divide gold and silver. It just lumps them together, which apparently, according to Rob, is not the way. It's not, how can I say, part of the international accounting standards, because they're not separating the assets. So we don't know if it's silver or gold that they're leasing out. But before 2018, as you can see here, they never used to, if you watch the video, they never used to lend out any of the metals. But it's been increasing. The latest data they have is for 2020, and there are over $1 billion Aussie dollars lent out that they don't have. And we'll have to wait and see in the next few months when they bring out the 2021 accounts. But what Rob said is basically you should be worried, because as an accountant, he sees, or auditor, they see the possibility that the Perth Mint, there could be a run on the Perth Mint. And if more and more people learn about this and start taking their metal from the Perth Mint, you could see a run, just like a bank run. So they're basically running the Perth Mint like a fractional reserve fiat bank, but doing it with synthetic gold and silver. I thought that was really interesting. And it just goes to show that you have to have physical gold and silver. You cannot trust at least the Perth Mint. I don't know how the other mints, well, actually they said that the US and the Canadian Mint aren't, they're not running a fractional reserve scheme. But yeah, you have to be very careful when you buy your gold and silver. If you're not going to take possession, you got to make sure that the institution that's supposedly selling you the gold and silver, that they really have it. So I thought that was the most important, an important topic. And also, we watched Bitcoin this week. It's been a really wild ride. Maybe you want to go into that.
No problem. So I want to actually touch on the whole Perth Mint situation as well, just because I think it's a great example of how a single domino will eventually bring down the rest of the cabal establishment type entities, because it's no way, in my personal opinion, that the Perth Mint is the only mint that's just having these issues of having lent out or leased out more than they actually have, and they're running a fractional reserve system, because the entire system is based upon, basically, even in his video, he compared it to the current fractional reserve monetary system. Like, it's the same type of system, just they're using the metals instead, where nobody knows anything or what's going on behind the scenes. And what I found to be the most interesting about that video was the fact that the auditor guy who he was referring to basically used the current information and was able to backtrack and build up information that kind of revealed the fact that they were net short on everything that they say they have. So it's one of those things where if you don't hold it, do you really own it? And it's the same thing applies with the banking system. Just because your account says you got a certain amount of digits in there, try to go down and get the paper version of that, and then there's going to be some issues. So we reached a peak to where having something physical in your possession, whether it be even your cash, is going to be extremely crucial, because he also hinted at the possibility of what could happen after the Basel III, June 28th, if that continues to go through. So yeah, chaos is, like we're literally hanging on a cliff, I think, and they're trying their best to take us back further and land, but we about to go over. So yeah.
Yeah, I think they had a look at the U.S. Mint and the Canadian Mint, and they said they're okay. But I think what the Perth Mint is basically doing is mimicking the LBMA and the COMEX. Mm-hmm. It's all paper, it's all promises, and the bullion banks, they don't seem to think there's a problem with lending out gold and silver they don't have. Mm-hmm. But fortunately, people are starting to stack and people are starting to wake up. So by buying physical gold and silver, we're actually in the beginnings of a bank run. And when more and more people become aware of it, they're going to have trouble because people think they have a lot of gold, but there's 200 million tons roughly that's ever been mined. And officially, they only own about 17% of that. And I read something, I think it was Alistair McLeod, who said it makes you wonder if they really have the claim to all that 17%, because the banks and the central banks, they lease out gold so many times over that they might not have anything legally. So that's a really interesting topic, I think.
I will be surprised if they have anything, to say the least, but it's one of those things where we're going to find out sooner than later. And so just to go on to the crypto situation, because even the financial markets in general are all a little shaky this week. And of course, the mainstream narrative was always about the crypto space, from what I've been paying attention to. And so have you also noticed that with these Bitcoin dips or crypto dips in general, gold has been brought into the spotlight as well, or being linked to Bitcoin and gold? So they're saying that, I saw an article saying that institutions that were considering Bitcoin are now rethinking gold, or they're talking about not taking as much of an investment into Bitcoin, but they rather gold now. So what do you think that's all about? Like, why are they trying to bring gold back into the equation? Is this because of this whole possible June event or something like that, or what?
Maybe a little bit, but maybe people realize that gold this week acted like a rock. If anything, I know in the last few hours they bashed it down from almost 1890 to around 1870. But last week, I think when we were speaking, we were around 1840. So with all the volatility in Bitcoin and the stock market, gold is just held really steady. And maybe people are starting to realize that, gold might not be high beta like cryptocurrencies, but it's stable. I looked at a chart. I think it was on the was it the 12th? I forget now. But three days before Bitcoin had that huge drop. And we're trading around 48,000. And I said, if we break this neckline, we could see Bitcoin go down to 30,000 because it was a head and shoulder. And I said, but this would be over time. But then 3 days later, it did it in one day. And I thought that was crazy. And then it was 2 days ago, I guess. And then Bitcoin bounced from 30,000 to 40,000, the same. So we went from 46 to 30 to back to 40 in the matter of 24 hours. It's very, it's not a stable store of value. So I think that's what's going on. And I think right now, as we speak, Bitcoin is back down to 36,000. And I think we're going to retest that 30,000 level. And if we break that, I think it's quite bearish for Bitcoin, because I did a quick Fibonacci analysis retracement. If you take Bitcoin from 10,000 last year, which was like a base, to 65,000, which was the high, I think it was April, I'm not sure, or March. If you take the 50% retracement, it's 37,000. So we're back below that now, and the 61.8 is 30,000 actually. So it held there. So that's why I think it's important
Yeah. Now watch this. So I was, ranting on my side of things where I was saying that a lot of things are going on behind the scenes and we're being set up for it. We're being set up for, I think it's geared towards trying to put regulators in a position to where they feel like they have to now step in to try to provide some stability to this new asset class, because it's the wild, wild west in a sense. And of course, they're using examples such as, the Safe Moon, Shiba Coin, all those coins that are, allowing a lot of people to get uber wealthy. And so with this regulation also comes the reinforcement of now taxation. So we got a lot of things that has happened within the last 72 hours where the IRS is talking about any business that does, any transaction with more than $10,000. So that right there, that 10,000 puts it at the current financial system minimums of what needs to be reported to the IRS just for the concerns of terrorism, tax evasion, all that other money laundering, stuff like that. So I think this whole crypto situation is crash outside of what the real reason was. It was designed to basically take us into the summer where regulation is now going to become the most important subject matter that they're going to talk about in the developed world, I think. So I think it's a part of a greater plan that it seems to be right on track. And then we got the digital dollar. But I want to actually play that little clip real quick on Michael Saylor because we touched on this during the week. So
can I just say one thing before I forget that I just remembered? About 2 weeks ago, I saw a story that Goldman Sachs just put on its first Bitcoin derivative trade. So they've got a crypto desk now. And I thought to myself, oh, that doesn't bode well. And is it a coincidence that Bitcoin is dumped so much since Goldman Sachs working close with, with the Fed, the US Treasury? They could very well have triggered that.
Yeah. And so that plays more into my skepticism about how we are right where they want us to be. And I did a hefty rant last night trying to lay out my case, because it's no coincidence that the Federal Reserve talked about they're releasing a paper. I'm thinking like, a paper. Like, when does a central bank who controls the monetary system care about the public opinion to release a paper to give us an insight as to what they want to do, as if it's an option? So but so I'm gonna play this real quick. So we'll talk about this as well.
And figure out what you can sell to buy Bitcoin. And if you absolutely love the thing that you don't want to sell it, go mortgage your house and buy Bitcoin with it. And if you've got a business that you love because your family works for the business that's in your family for 37 years and you can't bear to sell it, mortgage it, finance it, and convert the proceeds into the hardest money on earth, which is Bitcoin. So what I would say is use all your time to acquire Bitcoin, finance entities and weaker currencies to buy Bitcoin, or educate yourself on why this makes sense if you're not sure.
So sell everything, buy Bitcoin because it's the hardest money.
Mortgage everything.
So think about that. So I think that clip there. No, it's another clip that came from. So Frank Gustria and Michael Saylor, since they had that debate, Frank has been going very hard towards Michael Saylor, and it was a recent tweet saying that about the whole regulation stuff about hiding your bitcoins and tax evasion. It was interesting, but here we have Michael Saylor talking about basically this is the most important asset class of all times in a sense. Sell everything, mortgage everything, anything you got. If you can sell your animal and get something, sell your kidney, get some money, get Bitcoin. So this is that financial advice?
I think he's a reincarnation of a Dutchman from the 1630s who was telling people to buy tulip bulbs.
Yeah,
I mean, tulip bulbs are nice and they're useful if you want to have a nice garden, but they're not the end all. And it almost sounded like he was talking about gold because it's the hardest currency, But I personally, when I talk to my viewers, because a lot of times I get the question, if interest rates are so low and it's easy to borrow money, should I borrow money to buy gold and silver? And I tell them, no, you shouldn't. Not so even real money, gold and silver, I wouldn't borrow money to get into it. I would first save the money, pay off my debt, and then get into, trying to buy gold and silver. So it's just outrageous, I think, the way this guy, he looks deranged, I think. I mean, he's just like it's really
you lost for words.
Yeah, I can't believe people listen to this guy. He's got a lot of followers, of course, on Twitter. Good luck to them.
Yeah, it's spooky and it's very concerning because when you find someone who is so overly zealous in one single thing, as if it's the answer to humanity's monetary, issues we're facing, it leads me to believe what else is this guy up to? What else does he stand to gain? Even though he has, I think, his company has 91,000 or so at this current moment. He buys every dip. So he's literally practices what he preaches. And of course, he's using borrowed money, borrowed funds. Like he's issuing debt at 0% interest rate, taking in billions because he lays out some very good cases as to why, it's worth the risk on his part. And so to me, that shows a sense of desperation to where he really believes this current system we're in now is coming to an end. And Bitcoin, in his estimation, is the best way to transition into the new monetary paradigm. But yeah.
I mean, some people might argue that I a lot of times tell people that you should have gold and silver, and they might say, oh, it's like Michael Saylor on Bitcoin, but you're on gold and silver. But it's not, because my claim is that gold and silver are sound money and you want to have it. And I always say, if you have an asset that you think is undervalued and you like it and it would help your financial well-being, it will get you an income, yes, get into that asset out of gold and silver. But this guy seems to think that even a family that has a good business that's been going for 2 generations need to sell that business or mortgage that business to get into Bitcoin. I think that's crazy. I just why would if you have had a business in the family and it's working well, might not be a tech business, but something that provides an income for the family, and why do you want to mortgage that to put it into something that truly is not that stable?
Right. Another issue I have is the fact that Bitcoin itself is the first iteration of this new version of decentralized tech. And it's not. It's still in its infancy phase, and it's outdated technology in comparison to all the things that these younger brainiacs have built on top of other protocols. To where it's an issue in of itself, and then the fact it's a surveillance coin. Like the fact that everything is publicly visible, that also is my problem, because it removes the most important aspect of fungibility as well as privacy. Because here's another thing most people don't consider, and I'm going to get your thoughts on this, is that the Bitcoins is scarce and has all the monetary properties, sure, but yet what happens if you come across a tainted Bitcoin? Because if you don't go through certified exchanges where all eyes and ears and government entities and blockchain analysis corporations can see everything, what's the likelihood that you end up with a smidget of a tainted Bitcoin that you mix in with your total batch that ruins? I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like the technical side of things where there's a lot of corruption within those small fragments that can ruin your whole pile of Bitcoins. If I'm right or wrong, I don't know, but
I wouldn't know about that. But one thing I would say, even the new protocols like the Ethereums and all the other ones that are building upon the technology, I think they're still very in its infancy. They're not very scalable. They're not fast technology. Because even Ethereum now is moving towards proof of stake, which is a lot quicker, but some people argue that that's not as decentralized. So blockchain is a good technology, but the other thing I would say is that we can't have a civilization, a peaceful, prosperous world without people trusting each other. And I think the people in tech and the blockchain world, they think that, we can do away with trust because we got the blockchain. And I think that's a little bit arrogant, because I don't want to live in a world where you can't trust anyone, but you can trust these cryptocurrencies, and you have to trust the miners. But maybe we should look into something else now.
Okay.
Maybe go into Jay Powell, what he said yesterday about the.
So watch this. Before that, somebody in the so once again, so we get carried away. I think I get carried away having a good time talking. So I forget we're streaming live. So welcome to the live.
Questions
for those that have chimed in. Feel free to comment in the chat, and I'll definitely pull them out, and then we'll get some phone line activity in a minute for those who want to call in and share a thought or ask a question. But here's something I did notice that I did pull up, and so Adam says, "Look at rhodium. I held a 1 ounce coin at $1,000 a few years ago. Now it's $28,000 for the same thing. Real supply and demand, no paper derivative on that metal too." And so just to piggyback on that, I pulled up the rhodium spot price. And this is, from back in 1992, where rhodium $2,700 to now, where it's $28,000. And so rhodium is one thing that's not talked about, as well as platinum, palladium. I never really talk about much of those. So where do you stand on all these other metals that are?
Yeah, I remember back in 08, rhodium, you see, had a big move up as well. And then it came down. I mean, maybe it's because the bankers are not involved, and it's a free market. And I just noticed that Aaron Levy said that silver just got bashed, and I can see that. And it's not really silver, and there's not people out there selling physical silver. It's just the bankers throwing more and more paper at it. But what I think is going to happen is the paper right now is sticking, but one day the paper is going to be useless. So we just have to, I try to buy as much silver as I can regularly. Sometimes I buy some gold, but this is not real silver trading here. You can still not get silver for $27 if you tried.
Name me one place where you can get it, and I'll be there. Boy, I would be there in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And so, speaking of which, real quick, and then we'll get into next subject matter. What's premium looking like in the UK?
It's pretty high as well. There are some a lot of the dealers are having difficulty sourcing it. I know one dealer, the one that I work with, I provide like a promo code for gold investments. It's Monaco 64. And I spoke to Oliver today, and he said they've got plenty of silver coins and gold coins and bars. And I said, how come you guys seem to always have supply? And he said, well, we've been in the business for 40 years. We got loads of clients. And a lot of times, some of the clients, they're selling because they might be older. And a lot of clients are buying. So they always have a supply. But the premiums are at least 25%, sometimes 50% or even more for an ounce of silver. So still pretty high.
Wow. Yeah. So here it's scattered throughout. Of course, I think we have a variety of sources. I encourage people to go to your local coin shop, develop a relationship with somebody locally that you trust, and hopefully someone you've been doing business with for a while. You'll get the best rate. And I would say, for me personally on this side, because I'm thinking long term, I would say try to dial back on ordering stuff offline in the days ahead, because I think logistically it's going to be some problems getting metals in the mail, because over here at the United States Postal Service is spying on people. So it's good to say they're probably going to start keeping tabs on how people, transact with bullion dealers or whatnot. And you have a credit card, history that will show what you're doing. So whatever. But let's move on to the next subject matter. So here on the screen, I have the Federal Reserve, Mr. Jerome Powell, yesterday came out with a very interesting statement. It happens to be about the need for the U.S. to keep up with the technology advancements and the payment systems is what he kind of emphasized. But then he went on to talk about the paper that's coming. I actually highlighted some here. But he said that we think it's important that any potential CBDC could serve as a complete complement to and not a replacement of cash and current private sector digital forms of the dollar, such as the deposits of the commercial bank. So you don't want to remove our cash. You want to complement the current system we have because it's doing so well,
Yeah, I think that's the way they start in little steps. But then you have a huge crisis, and this CBDC might become the only thing. Some people think that eventually they want to do away with the banks and people will deal directly with just one bank, the all-seeing eye of the Federal Reserve, maybe. But I still think I still am not going to save in CBDCs. I'm still going to keep stacking gold and silver. Of course, I might have to. I don't know if we're going to have a pound coin here or something, a digital pound. You might be forced to, or you might not have any choice. If you want to pay your bills, you're going to have some digital dollars, but it's still, I doubt it's going to be trustworthy.
Yeah.
Just like the Federal Reserve, what we have now, which is partly digital and partly paper.
Yeah.
As you know, I don't trust anything these people do. So when the digital dollar comes out, if it comes out, you can bet that it's going to be losing value right off the bat over time.
Yeah. Yeah, hands down. And that's another thing is it will not be transparent. It will not be limited in supply. So it's going basically, it's the duplication of the current system we have now, but just in digital form, where I was, encouraging people on my side that appreciate, even though cash is coordinate rate down, cash is trash, appreciate the fact that you're still able to hold something physical in your hand that you can have access to in a tangible form, in the form of property, even though it's not ours, it's a liability of the government, what I'm saying? But it's still, because once we go solely digital, game over with. Like it's no going back, unfortunately.
The other thing that they could use that for, if they have digital central bank dollar, is that they could basically bring in negative interest rates, because you wouldn't be able to take it unless you sell, you buy gold with it and silver. Yeah. That's the way to protect yourself. But they could even have triggers. For example, they could say, oh, we've decided now, because the economy is going into a recession, because the stock market has dropped, we decided that every month, if you don't spend your digital dollars, if you don't spend $1,000, you're going to lose 5% of that. So and they could do that, and they could freeze people's account very easily as well, I think.
Yeah, I think the programmability of this new technology is what's going to be a game changer. So everything will mimic what we currently have now, because it's all digital in nature, as you just mentioned. But yet the fact that they can now put stipulations on how you can or cannot spend your units of distraction. So everything that China's already doing now, I think China's already there, the front runner. So I've been watching and following and monitoring all the activity come out of there from what we're told. And spells trouble. Like it's literally less of your financial sovereignty completely. And so definitely, and I think I went even a little deeper a while back, saying how they're going to attempt to try to track every transaction you have through their protocol, to where they'll be able to see what time you went to the grocery store. They probably zoom in and see what you purchased in your basket. They can see what you did at the, what shirt, what size of your shoes. So that's how deep and technical this stuff can probably be in the future, because they want to know everything about our lives. So anyway, but we can rant forever. But
was it you who
phones up a little bit?
Sorry,
I'll mute myself. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Calls. No, that's right. Let's take the phone call.
Okay, so I canceled that one out by mistake. So feel free to call in and let your voice be heard. Let me put a number on the screen here so people.
What I heard, though, I think it might have been from you. Or someone else, that even the Chinese public are not too keen on the digital yuan.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're predominantly digital already, and so it's the fact that they're taking the ECNY, Chinese yuan, and they're incorporating into the Alipay, the Alibaba, and all those other protocols that they already use, and they're trying to make it a seamless transition to where you don't even know you're using the ECNY, which I think is going to happen here. But then I think the biggest question will be, how will the Facebook Diem project, which is also going to be a stable coin type of thing, how will stable coins and the Federal Reserve issuance coexist in the short term? Because they're going to try to make it a seamless transition where you won't know what you're using, but ultimately the Federal Reserve will be able to see it, and they're going to be the last issuer of that down the line. So,
yeah, we got a call, or.
Oh, we do not. Go ahead. Keep you finish.
I noticed that Jay Powell mentioned stable coins, and he said that we need to get these stable coins into a regulatory framework. And I think he was really indirectly talking about Tether, that we found out that Tether which is a stable coin that's supposed to be for every Tether, there's supposed to be $1 backing it. We found out recently that only 2.9% backing it has. So for every Tether, there's only 2.9 cents, which is basically fractional reserve banking. And they're not licensed as a bank. And I'm sure the Federal Reserve digital currency will be highly leveraged. It will be fractional. Well, it will be out of thin air. I don't think they're going to have any gold backing to it.
Yeah, I agree.
But
here's something I want to share that I mentioned last night or whatever during one of my little rants, is that this is something I grabbed from a social media, influencer crypto guy, and just from this alone, it says, you can see the top part. You say, I just found out one hell of a connection tracking USDC supply. And so basically what he's put up here is the fact that according to his Explorer, the Algo Explorer, he's been able to connect USDT with USDC, and the circulating supply are relatively similar, but yet the total supply of both of these coins are $18 trillion. So they have potential. They have the potential of issuing, I'm assuming, $18 trillion. So I look at my
because the market cap for Tether right now is about 60 billion.
Okay, so according here, circulating is 94 billion, but yet total supply is 18 trillion. So this is just the image here. So for whatever it's worth, I didn't have a chance to validate any of this, but this is just what caught my attention. But he was basically getting at, with the USDT's recent, New York investigation and them cooperating and whatever, everything was smoothed out. But then again, USDC has already been the preferred chosen U.S. regulated, allowed through the exchanges. We got Gemini, Kraken, they all got their own stablecoin versions, but USDC is the preferred. So did they link them together and have them run in tandem or something like that? And how will that, exist along with the Federal Reserve stuff? So those are things that I always question and wanted to dive into further myself, but just a total amount of 18 trillion. Like, where's that coming from? Where's 18 trillion sitting around that's readily available to just be put in the stable coins back one for one? So yeah. Anyway, people, give us a call if you have a question or a thought or a highlight in the chat there, and then I'll definitely pull it out and you guys can share your 2 cents and we can go from there. But Mario, I'm curious to get your thought real quick. Here, starting July 15th, Uncle Sam is issuing out, UBA, Universal Basic Allowance, to parents up to $300 a kid or something like that. So what do you think about that? Is there anything like that being announced in the UK about, help?
Yeah. I've been hearing. Is that part of the
American Rescue Plan? Yeah.
I've been hearing that they're going to try UBI. They call it Universal Basic Income in Wales.
Yeah.
So, which is part of the UK, of course, but I think they tried it in Switzerland.
All right. So hold that thought, Mario. We did get a call. So,
Is that low blood pressure?
So we will see. Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
Hey, it's low blood pressure for Corpus Christi. How's it going?
I'm doing good, my friend. He called it ahead of time.
Mike, you on the roll, man. Take a breath.
I get excited, man. I get excited. What's going on with you, man?
I hear you. Hey, look, this whole CBDC, and it's unhackable and all these stories people tell.
Yeah.
Like right now, the U.S. has a system like that, the banking system. Like your account has whatever money's in it is in it, right?
Yeah.
And how is okay? So it's like someone does fraud, and so they take money out illegally and they put it back in. The bank does out of thin air or whatever.
Right.
If you have a CBDC, how's the bank going to be able to be doing that if everything is supposed to be honest and they have to go to the blockchain and it's unbreakable or whatever people say? Yeah. How are they going to refund and do things like that?
I was doing the same way they currently do it now. It'll just pop back up. You just go on your keyboard, type in, whatever that number is, hit enter. It'll be right back there.
I bet you there's going to be like a front end system for the public.
It's going to be like a fiat digital nothing.
At some point, Mario, what were you saying?
I think that I'm not even sure if the central banks are going to use the blockchain because it's too transparent, or if they do, it's only going to be for the front end for the plebs.
Yeah.
But they're going to have like a back system where they create all the digital currencies and we won't see anything.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's going to be because they don't want people knowing everything.
Yeah. And that right there is no doubt. It's not going to be your normal ledger type of project. It's going to be, and I think I saw something about Ripple. They've suggested that they can help with the CBDC process. They can come up with their own extended off-chain version, whatever. But no doubt the digital dollar project, they already have 2 working models here in the US that they are testing. So they announced they were testing it I think about a month ago I mentioned it. So they already have some test runs going on right now. So I think there was an announcement that came when some of the FOMC members, I think, or people who are part of that CBDC study group, that's a part of the Fed, they came out saying that they had some type of paper as well about these projects that they were reviewing amongst themselves or whatever, and that they have the test runs going now. So it's already said and done. It's just a matter of will it be as big and bulky enough to be something they can roll out for the entire world to use in some capacity? And then how will the Fed Now's program connect with that? Will it still be connected to the SWIFT, chain messaging system and stuff like that? So those are things that I guess we're going to find out as well at some point.
Yeah, back to the UBI. I was going to say something, or universal basic income, and or allowance in the U.S. It just goes to show that, because I think 2 or 3 years ago they tried it in a small town in Switzerland, and it didn't work. And it just seems like these people don't have any common sense, because if you give people something for nothing, if you're getting this UBI, why are you going to leave home to go to work and go through all the effort? So I think it's a really bad idea, UBI, and the stimulus. It's going to get people addicted to it. It's going to make people even more dependent, but that's what they want. The state governments, they love people that are dependent on them, because it gives them power. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about the repo situation. We can't let that get away from us, because I think that is probably the fuse that has been lit, that's ready to go kaboom. So let me pull stuff on the screen here, but share your thoughts on what you've been able to gather from this repo situation.
Yeah, the repos are really obscure market. It's basically the pawn shop for Wall Street. It's where people the Wall Street, the banks and the hedge funds, where they bring in their wares, their securities, and they borrow money overnight to leverage themselves even more. And in 2019, the repo rate spiked to 10% in September because the counterparties didn't trust each other anymore, because they lend out U.S. Treasuries. So it wasn't because they didn't trust U.S. Treasuries, but they didn't think counterparties would be in business. So the Federal Reserve had to stop the unwinding of QE. They have to stop raising rates and basically reverse all the normalization because of that. But now there's another problem. The repo rate is getting close to negative, because the banks have so many treasuries that their balance sheets are getting too big for the regulators. So what they're doing a reverse repo, where they're actually lending their, trying to get rid of those
treasuries to the Fed.
And it's driving interest rates, short-term rates, near zero and negative. So it could be a problem. It could force the Fed to stop doing QE. And I made a video earlier this week saying that one solution is to extend the SLR, which is giving the banks more, let the banks keep buying all these treasuries and get their balance sheet big, increase their balance sheets. But that would put the banks, increase the risk you know, because you could see volatility in the treasury market. The other one is for the Fed to just directly buy treasuries, do the QE from the treasury, because right now when the treasury issues new debt, the primary dealers, which are basically the big banks on Wall Street and big international banks, they participate in the auctions, and then a day or two later they sell that to the Fed. I think it just goes to show that what the Fed is doing is creating loads of problems. It's very confusing, but it's not good. It's like you're flooding a car with gasoline. You know, you're going to flood the engine, and the car is you're going to have problems. And I think that's what's very confusing and complicated subject, but there's something wrong there.
Yes, there's something that I mentioned without even knowing all the technical stuff, because we're only able to assess and analyze what is being presented to us, because they only let so much leak out, because it's obvious that there's issues with the whole repo situation. But just the fact that the banks are able to sell to the central banks, and the central banks pays them, that cyclical nature of just keeping money within the institutions, and on top of the fact that too big to fail banks and that whole group they're shareholders in the Federal Reserve System, so it's a double win. Like, so no matter how it goes, which way it goes, the banks win no matter what, because the system is designed for them in this environment. And it's like, wow, like no matter what, we're losing. The dollar's being destroyed deliberately, and so it's like it's crazy. But
it's just like they're trying to keep the music going forever. You know, they're not taking a break. The party is not like ending, but one day, you know, I don't know what's going to trigger it, but and as I said, it's a confusing market. It's not very, even to me who has had experience. I remember, you know, when I started out at in the bond market, we used to do repos, but for me, even for me, it's a bit confusing what's going on. Basically, there's too much. The Fed is doing too much. That's what it is. But if it stops doing too much, the system can't keep going. So it's they're between a rock and a hard place.
So ultimately, just hearing you share your analysis, they're flooding the system. Like they're literally they're flooding the system to the point where they're trying to flood it to keep it afloat, but all along they're destroying it at the same time. So if one thing we can all take away from this is the fact that if you don't own something outright in your possession, preferably, you run the risk of having too many intermediaries between you and what you think you own, i.e. all those financial products that were designed to keep your hardworking currency in their system so that they can get rich first and give you crumbs at the end. You lose out. So but yet we have a super chat here from Mr. Herbert Harris. Says, just wanted to weigh in on the crypto market. The CBDC will require using Hedera, HBAR, to facilitate transactions, research, and share Shalom. Okay, so Hedera, that's a whole unique.
Is that Hashgraph?
Yes.
Hashgraph is it? Yes. I heard of that. I remember when they came out. One thing that was a bit suspicious. A lot of the guys involved in that were military guys. So I thought, you know, and a lot of corporates, it's not really decentralized. But they're a Hashgraph.
And the fact that it's not, I remember watching Mike Maloney, like, you know, interview the founders or whatever, 2 or 3 guys that put this together. And it's a unique to where it's completely different than all the other blockchain protocols and how they operate, because it's no longer, you know, it doesn't have to store stuff on a blockchain that has to be verified by block by block by block. It's just something that's like infinitely available, that's just ready at the fingertip, where it's interesting technology, but unfortunately I don't think it's going to be benefiting, you know, humanity much, because if the central banks use it, they're going to make sure that they're going to be the ones profiting off of that. So yeah, man. What else? So anything else we got to cover, Mario, that we may have left out before we get ready to dial back on this Friday Mike and Mario show?
No, I can't think of much. I mean, one thing I would say, the technology is great, but how much more technology do we need to make things better? I think the world is too much. Technology is here and real things are here right now. And I think we need to focus on real things. I'm not saying technology isn't a good thing. I mean, we're doing this show here. You're in Detroit, I'm in London, and we're able to do this, and it's a good thing. But we can't lose track of or sight of real things as well.
Right.
And I think that's my message for today.
Right. And in between that, between technology and real things, we have humanity, people, humans, like skills, labor, time, energy, effort, the ability to communicate, social skills, all the stuff that technology has is hindering, especially amongst our youth. The fact that every kid now grows up with a smartphone, cell phone, they're disconnected from reality. And it's becoming some type of computerized, automated, all that stuff that's coming, virtual reality, automation. It's, you know, kids are being sucked into that. So are our lives. And that's, you know, very spooky because, you know, everybody can be too connected at times. So,
yeah.
And I think this weekend, especially, dialing back, unplugging as best you can, bonding with your family, friends, family, love, and reach out and hugging somebody, all that stuff, man, comes into play. So, but anyway, man, Mario, it's great to connect with you as always. For those that are tuning in, definitely go check out Manico64 on his YouTube channel. Let me pull you up real quick. And because you do stuff on the weekend too, Mario, am I correct?
Yeah, I do a live stream on Sunday night, London time.
Okay.
So 9 p.m., which is 4 p.m. Eastern time. I do a live stream every Sunday. It's an hour. Yeah. And I will usually do a video on Saturday as well. Okay. And I'm publishing this video on my YouTube channel tomorrow. But tomorrow I'm playing 36 holes of golf, so I might not make my own video. So I'm going to be playing golf the whole day, a competition. Yeah. So try to get into the real world.
Yeah. Hey,
so
36 holes is the real one. That's real.
Yeah.
I personally don't have the patience, but yet have fun, man.
Yeah.
All right, people. Everybody have a good day, good weekend. Be blessed, be safe. Definitely go check out Mario. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe, share this video, as well as come back next week. We're going to have more fun as always. So it's good to connect with Mario across the water. So be blessed, be safe. See you guys later.